I disappeared. Can't believe it. Here I am. I don't know why I disappeared. Sorry about that. I disappeared. Hi, Deborah. I was just on there and then I disappeared. And so I hope my friends come back and join Deborah and I. Hi, guys. I disappeared for a minute, but I'm not sure where the heck I went. But welcome. So glad to be here tonight. Oh, you know what I did? I hit finish when I meant to hit enter. Because that's how I am. A little computer illiterate. Anyway, it's Wednesday night, 9 o'clock. Time for food addiction, fair and firm. You know, all of my career, I've described myself as firm and fair. But when I decided to do this and the retreats and whatever, I decided fair was a nicer word than firm. So I had to put it first. So I am now saying fair and firm. Sometimes I get confused though, and I still say firm and fair. I am both, though. I want you to know that. And tonight, there's something really important that I want us to talk about. And so while friends are gathering, I'm going to do a little bit of promoting some things that I think are super duper, super duper, super duper, hi Paige, important to the recovering community, the food addiction community, the bariatric surgery community, the weight loss community. And one of them, let's see if I can do this. I am posting right here. Now, rather than hit finish, there it is. There's a woman in Atlanta named Jennifer Nat, and she is doing a mindfulness challenge. So what she's doing, she's a nutritionist, and she's teaching mindful eating habits. So I'm just saying you might want to think about checking that out. I put a link there. The other thing that I'm doing is plugging Slimpressions because Dawn Hurlebus, if you know Dawn, is sponsoring everything I do. And I'm so grateful to her. And not only is she a truly good person, she is a bariatric surgical success person. That hardly sounds right, right? And she has great products. The other person that I really want to give a shout out tonight, well, two people, Laura Preston, and she is with Celebrate Vitamins. If you don't know Laura, and if you don't know your vitamins, then I suggest you contact Laura through Celebrate Vitamins, and she is the person who can answer your questions about the vitamins. A lot of knowledge to be had. And the other person I really want to thank, of course, as always, is Yvonne, bariatric girl, Burns McCarthy, because she is someone who is always there for all of us. So just saying, she's a good resource for the community. So I hope you had a good day. I hope you're having a good week. Can't believe it's Wednesday. The weeks go so fast. But good things happening. Tonight we're going to talk about something uber important, very, very important to those of us who consider ourselves addicts of whatever sort. And I know that if you're joining us, you're probably a food addict, but maybe not. Either way, this is a life skill. Remember when we talk about whether it's the 12-step recovery program or the SMART recovery or any kind of healing from addiction program, all of them talk about how different life can be and how much more, fully we can embrace life and how much more joy is on the other side of abstinence and learning the skills and the tools that it takes to live a full, healthy life. Part of addiction is control. That word has a lot of different meanings, right? A lot of times we talk about wanting to gain control of our eating habits or gain control of our messy lives or gain control of our procrastination or gain control of all these things, right? So there's one aspect of control where we're like, ooh, we want to grab it, we want to hold on to it, and we want to get it, and we want to keep it, and we want to, we want it locked in place. We want to gain control over this maddening food addiction. So that's one way to look at control. In the recovery rooms, you hear a lot about giving up control. So what the heck does that mean? And you hear me talk a lot about giving up control to gain control. What I want to talk about tonight is the meaning of control when it comes to the ways we, yes, you and me, become a control freak. And I don't mean we try to clean the house like a control freak. I mean we try to control other people. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute, okay? Do you think that you attempt to control other people? Type in. Just let me see some yeses or nos or maybes or sometimes. Or do you think that you attempt to control other people? Hi, Yvonne. I just was thanking you. All right. Nobody wants to admit it, right? Anybody out there think that you attempt to control other people? What do I mean? What do I mean? What do I mean? What do I mean? Well, let me give you some examples, and then we'll see how many of you feel like me in that I do attempt to control other people sometimes. One of the skills, one of the things, the behaviors, the ways of thinking, the learned benefits, the things you learn about how to live a healthy life when you're in a recovery program is to recognize the awareness. You know, I'm all about the 4 ACEs, awareness being one of them. Become aware of when you try to control other people. So I was playing with the word control today and the word manipulate. Who wants to think of yourself as being manipulative, right? Does anybody want to cop to being manipulative at times? Anybody? Anybody? Oh, I know I can be, right? It's a lot easier, or at least might be easier to see it in other people than it is to see in ourselves. But remember, recovering from an addiction means not just eliminating the behavior or the substance. It means looking at our behaviors and working toward being our best selves and our genuine selves. Part of the isms, or like with alcohol, the isms, the other behaviors that surround an addict, one of them is control and manipulation. So we're going to look at that tonight. So manipulate means to manage or influence skillfully, right? So it's kind of like manipulating, to mold or to form something to be the way you want it to be. Now, we all kind of mold our children to behave in public, hopefully, right? Or we all try to mold people or a work environment or employees in a certain way. Is that manipulation or is it not? We're kind of going to go through that. But think for a minute about the ways in which you try to manage or skillfully influence people to do what you want them to do for a reason you want them to do it. And let's look at how that goes hand in hand with addiction, okay? So here's an example. I'm going to read some examples, or give you some examples of things you may or may not have done in your addiction or as part of your obesity or part of your loneliness or whatever it might be. So here we go. When I talk to patients about ways that they did things to get people to like them, does that make sense? A lot of people who struggle with obesity go out of their way because they want people to like them. They want to feel included. For example, They may offer to be the designated driver, because if they're the designated driver, then they're included in the group. They get to hang out with the group. They can feel like they have friends. They can feel like they're included, right? Have any of you done anything like that? What have you done? So yes, being a people pleaser, that's a good way to put it, Jamie. What have you done in your life to try to maybe, let's just go with this example of be included, right? Maybe you wanted to feel included. What are some things that you may have done? Did you maybe go to places you didn't really want to go? Perhaps you went out drinking with people and you didn't really want to do that, but you went so that you could feel included, you could feel a part of. Have any of you, oh God, remember when I joke about my book that I'm going to write someday, My Life as a Teen Slut, Fact or Fiction? Now, I know that's a really funny title, right? But I'm going to write that book someday. And I'm going to give you the answer right now. It's fact and fiction, because I was a little bit slutty in my day, but I was in my early 20s. So I wasn't exactly a teen slut. When I was a teen, I was pretty good. But man, I'll tell you what. But let me tell you about that sluttiness. I slept around as a young woman because I was manipulating people so that I would feel like I was wanted, so that I could feel like somebody cared about me, so I could feel like somebody wanted to hang out with me, right? All right. What about this? What about, are there some behaviors you engage in to kind of keep people away from you, to kind of, have people back off? What about, let's say you're having an argument and you start screaming and hollering and having a fit. Is that a way to get somebody to back off, to be quiet, to shut up, to leave you alone? Or do you sometimes give the silent treatment, right? Kind of punishing people, things like that. A lot of people talk about how they've manipulated men, or how they've done things they didn't really want to do, gave in to doing things even though they knew it wasn't right for them. So those may not sound like things that are controlling or manipulative, but I want you to think about this in a little bit different way, right? Let's say that you invite everybody to lunch, and you know that everybody at lunch likes to go out for sushi. You don't really like sushi, but you know that that's where the office gang goes. So you invite everybody out for lunch, right? Is that controlling? Is that manipulating? Maybe not overtly, but let me tell you, we do a lot of things throughout the course of our lives that are manipulations of other people to get what we need. So, for example, in the example of inviting everybody out for lunch to a place where you know they all like to go, but you don't really like to go, but you want to hang out with them, you're sort of manipulating people or attempting to control them by trying to get your needs met, right? So you offer to be the designated driver, or you sleep with people, or you bake for them and you take it to your neighbors, or some people go so far as to write papers for other people in college because they want to be accepted, they want to be liked, they want to be included. The question that I'm asking you, and how this plays into manipulation and how this plays into addiction, is that those of us who suffer from addictions very often suffer from some level of low self-esteem. And that may come from 1,000 different things, but At some level, it's there, right? We feel shame, or we feel not okay. We feel not as good as, we don't feel like we fit in. This is part of the description of what the majority of people who suffer from addictions will tell you. So addiction is not only giving up the substance, but learning to deal with these unhealthy, unpleasant issues related to self-esteem, not feeling good enough, and not knowing how to get our needs met. So even though it sounds kind of nasty to say I attempted to control or I was trying to manipulate, what we're really trying to do, which is also a big part of addiction, is to avoid our unpleasant emotions. So a healing piece, an important healing piece, is to learn to identify our emotions, awareness, right? If I can stop and say, do I really want to go to sushi for lunch? No, I hate sushi. What is it I'm really wanting? What is it I'm really needing? If we can be honest enough with ourselves, if we can learn to say, what is this feeling that I would go to this extreme? Why would I sleep with these people who mean nothing to me? What am I needing? I feel unloved. I feel unworthy. I feel unwanted. I feel, I feel alone. I feel not included. I feel left out. So what I'm going to do in order to avoid those feelings, sometimes I'm going to eat, sometimes I'm going to drink and numb myself chemically. Sometimes I'm going to try to control other people so that they'll do what I want them to do because of what I need. That's manipulation. That's the kind of control I'm talking about. Does that make you a bad and horrible person? Absolutely not. That is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a person who is, what's that word I really like to use? Ill-equipped, right? It's a person who's ill-equipped, hasn't been taught, hasn't been shown how to get their needs met in healthy ways. First of all, most people who are addicts of whatever form are really removed from their own feelings. They're not even aware of what their real feelings are. And they don't want to stop to really think about it for too long, because oftentimes it's what you might classify or categorize as an unpleasant feeling, right? Loneliness, insecurity, not good enough. What it really boils down to is ill-equipped. Our job as adults, as people who want to be our best selves, as people who want to do what we say we want, behave according to who we say we want to be, is to equip ourselves with the skills and then put them into practice. So rather than sleeping with somebody so I don't feel lonely, so I can avoid my loneliness, if I can stop long enough to say, what am I feeling? I'm feeling lonely. What are some healthy ways to get those needs met? And we learn those things in our communities. We learn those things by attending OA or Smart Recovery or FA or online support groups or your support group at your bariatric center or finding a healthy mentor. People to teach us how to go about living. I had a really amazing evaluation with this young woman the other day. She's like 24, 25 years old. And that's young to have the kind of wisdom this young woman possessed. And she had been in therapy for like 3 years already and had discovered all kinds of wonderful tools because she knew she was a food addict. She wanted to have bariatric surgery, but she knew she was a food addict. And if she didn't address the addiction, that she was going to regain her weight or find a substitute. And she had a lot of baggage, which most of us do. Her mother pretty much abandoned her when she was young, and she didn't think it bothered her, and she didn't think it was okay to be angry with her mother. And so she would eat at her feelings and, do whatever she did, like I did whatever I did to avoid my feelings and my sadness and my issues, like you've done whatever you've done. And a lot of that includes manipulating other people. What about the ways you behave? The silent treatment or yelling or pouting. I know that one of the things that I had to learn for a very long time, and if I'm feeling really threatened or if I'm really frightened of my own behavior, not my behavior, I have been frightened of my own behavior, by the way, but if I'm feeling very frightened of my emotions and I'm feeling like a core issue of mine has been triggered, buddy, look out, because I will still come at, especially my husband, with anger that does frighten me at times. Not nearly as much as it used to, but what I was doing was manipulating him to back the hell off. I was so uncomfortable with my hurt feelings or my oversensitivity or my feeling like I did at some point in my childhood or whatever it was, that the only way I knew from learned behavior and from a sense of self-protection was to be loud and mean, because I knew that would back him off. That's manipulation. It's also protection. So we can look at it from trying to manipulate people. It's also a self-protection. Either way, it's not a healthy part of being a healthy adult and living appropriately. So while it is both, let's say we got one hand, right? On this side of the hand, I'm protecting myself. On this side of the hand, that same protective behavior is also manipulation. And it's not okay unless I'm being attacked or threatened or whatever. Now I'm responding because I'm feeling attacked or threatened, or somehow, my defenses are up. So I attack. It's manipulation, and it's unhealthy. So part of recovery then is really about learning to be, I got to read this question. What if we're really, dang it, where'd it go? What if we're really compassionate people? I'll post that again. Damn it. Sorry about language. Somebody posted, I just got a little glimpse of it. What if we're really compassionate people? I don't know. I'm guessing that the question was going to be something about being kind and doing things for other people because you want to. Okay, so let me address that because it's an absolutely valid, legitimate point. Now, there are two things I'm going to say about that. One is, so I have been taught, because this was a skill I needed to be taught. I needed to be taught to say things in a way that I would be heard, because my way is loud, it's assertive, bordering on aggressive at times. And so that's not the best way for somebody to listen to me. They don't want to hear that tone. They don't want to hear that. I have a lot of energy that comes behind a lot of what I do because I'm intensely passionate. I'm an intense person. I have had to learn and work very, very hard and put forth one of my other favorite words in the 4 Aces, so much effort. So in my relationship with Steve, I have had to put forth a great deal of effort to learn to say things in a way where he could hear me. Now, we might call that manipulation too, right? I'm trying to control the situation so that he's more likely to hear what I have to say. Could we categorize it that? Here's the difference. Here's the difference. Because I'm trying to get something, right? But the motive is not to protect myself from my own feelings. So the question becomes, like, if you're a really kind, compassionate person and you like to do things for people, And that's part of who you are. That is great and wonderful if, and I'm going to come back to that, if your emotion or your motive, if what you are doing is pure. So because I want to have a healthy adult discussion with my husband where we're not getting caught up in the anger or the tone of voice, or we don't slip down those slippery slopes into ugly argument, I am putting forth effort to talk to him in a way that I'm approachable, that he can hear me. My motive is pure and good all the way through. So a really important question in being in recovery is to say to yourself, what's my motive? What is my motive? Am I trying to get somebody to behave the way they want to get my needs met? Or am I doing something that's going to be a win-win? Is it a win-win? All right. Now, let me say this too. A lot of people tell me things like, I'm just a nice person. I do things because I really want to help people. And for some people, that's very true. And for other people, that's partly true, but there's more to the story. My job as a therapist is to dig deeper. I'm always looking for, let's dig deeper, because that's a surface response in many cases, meaning, well, it's not untrue, it's not the whole truth either. So I do nice things. One of the questions you get asked in therapy a lot is, what'd you get out of that? What was your motive? You know, what did that do for you? Because, come on, people, it's the truth. We all do what we do, not with an ulterior motive or an ugly motive. Sometimes the motive is pure and sometimes it's needy, right? So you've got to be willing to say to yourself, yes, I do nice things for people because I like doing nice things for people and I like people to be happy. I like to help make other people happy. How much of that is about that and how much of it is, I feel included, I feel important, I feel valued, and this is the only way I know how to do that. Does that make sense? It's not about being bad or wrong. None of this is about being bad or wrong. And that may be a win-win, right? For example, if somebody's lonely, I say, go find somebody and do something. It's a win-win. Yes, you're trying to do something and you're asking other people to do it with you, not necessarily because you want them to like you, but it's your responsibility to get your needs met in a healthy way. So if it's a win-win, awesome. But if it's a protect lose, not good, right? Most of what we do, most of the unhealthy things we do are because we want to avoid our own feelings. Most of the unhealthy things we do are to get our needs met, but we don't know healthier ways to do it. We are ill-equipped. We are not bad. We are not manipulative in a character flaw sense, but a lot of us have learned manipulative or controlling behavior because we don't know how else to get our needs met. So what I have learned, for example, when I roar at Steve, is to say, I'm feeling scared of being alone. I'm feeling afraid that, you know, you might abandon me. Or I'm feeling, it's easier for me to feel anger than it is to feel sadness. And right now I'm feeling really sad. And I hate, this is the truth too, sadness is so difficult and so painful for me that a lot of times I will resort to anger because it's protecting me from sad, which is really hard for me. So I have to learn sometimes, and I've given him permission to say, are you angry or are you sad? Sometimes it's both. that sadness is really hard for me. Anger is a piece of cake. You know, that's what we did in my family. But it's not always productive. So a question to ask yourself is, what's my motive? Always ask yourself, what's my motive? Is there a win-win here, or is somebody going to lose? Now, you're always going to lose eventually if your behavior is manipulative. I can tell you that. Because you're going to, in your heart of hearts, you're going to say, that is not who I want to be. That is not the kind of person I want to be. And then you're going to punish yourself and get into that whole stinking thinking negative cycle. When I was in recovery, and this is going to be the worksheet that comes out to you, or when I was in recovery, when I went to treatment, and I was in there for that 6 weeks. For about the first 3 weeks, every single night, we would start the night with what we called community group. And there were maybe 40 people in there. And everybody was working on different assignments, right? They'd give us these different assignments to help us discover certain of our addictive behaviors that were not real pleasant. And apparently I had some issues with being a control freak. So I think I was stuck on this homework for weeks. And I would have to make a list of 20 every night. So this is what I'm going to encourage you to do. And it's a sentence stem exercise. So here's how it goes. I attempted to control my blank by my blank. So I'm going to add another part to that. I'm going to give you some examples of this. So the one I've been using all night is, I attempted to control my husband, like I wanted him to back off. That was my goal, right? So I attempted to control him, meaning I wanted to manipulate his behavior so he'd shut off, back off, go away by my yelling loudly. So that's how it would work. I attempted to control my husband by my yelling loudly. I'm going to add this, so that he would leave me alone. And then I'm going to add this, because I was feeling powerless, or whatever it is. So I'm going to ask you to fill this in and start looking at your behavior. It could even be, I attempted to control my neighbor by making her a batch of cookies by my baking for her, because I wanted to be invited to her Christmas party, or I knew she was a gossip and I didn't want her talking about me to the other neighbors. Stuff like that. So we do things all day long, not all day long, often enough, that if we really step back and say, I did that on purpose because I wanted something out of that. And most of the time, what I wanted out of that was something that was going to somehow make me look good, feel good, or help me to avoid looking bad or feeling bad. This is a tough assignment, but it's also a very tough concept to grasp. But what I want you to take home with you is that even though the majority of us do develop some controlling and manipulative behaviors, it's not because we're bad or evil, or we have this character flaw of being a manipulative person. It's because we're ill-equipped with better options for getting our needs met in healthy ways. And that is really, really important to drive home. So when I talk to people about control, are you controlling? Oh yeah, I am controlling. And then when I say, did you know you could substitute the word manipulative for control? Turns into another whole ball game, right? Because we don't want to be manipulative. We kind of joke about being controlling. But controlling is just another word for manipulation. Not an evil thing, right? A way to get our needs met. So what the goal of this is learning to get our needs met in healthy ways. But we can only do that when we become aware of what the need is. And we can only become aware of what the need is by asking ourselves what the need is and by being willing to be rigorously honest with ourselves about how we're feeling. We don't like our feelings. That's why we eat. That's why we drink. That's why we shop. That's why we binge watch. Not that any of those things are bad in and of themselves, but when we do it to a point where it's affecting our lives in not good ways, if it's a problem, it's a problem, right? So I'm going to ask you to start looking at your controlling behaviors and saying, what would be a healthier way to get this met? And a lot of times you might go, I have no freaking idea. And that's when you reach out to a mentor, you go to a 12-step meeting, you go to a smart recovery meeting and going, Dr. Phil, this isn't working so well for me. What else could I do? So if you realize you're lonely, how can you fill your life so that you're not lonely in healthy ways? If you realize that you're angry, how can you get rid of the anger in healthy ways? That's what I wanted to say about the people who do nice things for people. A lot of times I read on behavior or on Jesus. A lot of times I read on Facebook, I'm so tired of doing things for other people and they never do anything for me, or I'm always giving and nobody gives in return to me. If you say those words, but you also say, I'm just such a nice, kind person, there's a conflict there. Because if the motive is I'm just a nice, kind person and I like to do nice things for other people, there's not the residual resentment of nobody gives back to me. Because that's a victim statement. Make sense? We're not going to be victims. We're not going to be victims. So let me repeat that because it's a little confusing. A lot of times people whose surface response is, well, I do nice things for people because I'm a really good person and a really compassionate person and I really like to help other people. And out of the other side of your mouth, you say things like, I do so much for so many other people and nobody does anything for me. Or I give and give and give and nobody gives back to me. And anger and resentment. Those two things don't go together, okay? There's a conflict, which is telling me that some of what you're doing because you're a really nice, compassionate person is trying to get some needs met. You're feeling pissed off because people aren't reciprocating. All right, so that may be a sign of a little bit or a lot, I don't know, of some control and manipulation. So just think about that. This is not condemnation. This is just, hey, we're all human. And if you're here and you're an addict, you've done this. It's just part of the deal. So part of the joy of living beautifully and joyfully and freely in recovery is because you don't do that crap anymore, right? Okay. It's a journey. It's a process. We're all in it together. And I want to assure you, I've been on this journey for almost 30 years of recovery, and I still mess up. I still mess up. Sometimes I mess up big. Sometimes I mess up little. It's okay. What's important is acknowledging it, owning it, making amends, working hard to do better next time. So don't think you're going to get this in a day, a week, or a year. It's a lifetime. It's a process. And you get better and better, and then you slip and whatever. Thank you for joining me tonight. I love Wednesday nights. I love that we get to have this time together, and it costs us our time. So thank you for spending your time. Hey, you know what? I just put that together. People say thank you for spending your time, right? Because that's the cost. It's the cost of your time. So thank you for budgeting your time and spending it with me. Very cool. Love it. All right, guys, let's keep working this together. Onward and forward, because healing from recovery, or healing from addiction, recovering from addiction, that's what we're working toward, okay? Let's share it with each other, pass it on, and we'll all keep working toward it. Remember, your health is your responsibility, this day and every day. We're here to help each other. Let's grow together. Talk to you soon. Take care. Make it a good night. Bye-bye.